Breaking news, the government's doing shady stuff again. Now, they do tend to do that sometimes, but this time it's some next level evil shit, because what they're trying to do is ban potentially the closest thing to a wonder drug that we could have for opioid addiction. A drug called SR 17018. Catchy, I know. We're gonna call it SR. This is actually breaking news. We don't have a lot of time, so in this video, I didn't have time to plan or nothing like that. I'm going to try to explain to you why it's so cool. You're gonna learn a little bit about pharmacology, about how the brain works, and then we're gonna talk about what we can do, because there is a chance that we could do something. And I'm also gonna start a little bit of drama too, maybe. So what is SR? SR is a chemical that was just developed in the last few years. It's brand new by this really sweet lady named Dr. Bond. Now, she was playing with chemicals and found that when she gave the SR to rats, it was an opioid, but it was an atypical opioid, meaning it doesn't really act in the way that you'd expect an opioid to act. For example, it didn't cause respiratory depression in the mice. Respiratory depression is just you stop breathing, and that's what usually kills someone with an opioid overdose. But SR had reduced levels of that. But the other thing that's really insane about SR, and I'm just going to read the paper directly. Interestingly, substitution with SR 17018 in morphine-tolerant mice restores morphine potency and efficacy, whereas the onset of opioid withdrawal is prevented. Let's break that down, because this is insane. So, sweet little Dr. Bond, she got a whole bunch of mice to just get addicted to morphine, okay? They just loved morphine. They're just total opioid addicts, okay? And then she goes, no more morphine for you, mice. Which usually the mice would go, oh, fuck, I'm in withdrawal now. And they would be just terrible. You'd have a whole bunch of signs showing that they're in withdrawal and all that, right? But then she gave them SR17. And the mice showed that they weren't having withdrawal syndrome, which by itself is not that interesting. That's the whole idea behind opioid substitution therapy. Basically, when someone's addicted to illegal opioids like heroin on the street, you put them in like a Suboxone or like methadone clinic, and you give them just another type of opioid that stops the withdrawal. But what she also found was that the SR, though it stopped the withdrawal, it didn't cause the same signs of high in the mice. Like, we can discuss later on why that's so insane, but that's insane. But then the last thing, and this is even crazier, was that after giving them SR17, after she got them off of it, the mice's brain reset back to zero tolerance. It was like they were never addicted at all. Like, you know how addicts will do a lot of a drug and then they just have to take more and more and more, and they just get an insane tolerance? Yeah, after this SR17, the mice were just back to normal. Just back. We have never, ever had a drug like that for opioids, ever in human history, ever. Like I am not gassing it up, that's insane. But of course, the thing to remember is that this is a scientific study. Just because you put a mouse on a hot plate and they don't respond in the way that they should doesn't really tell you necessarily if they're high or not, right? So the next step of what happened in this history of SR was that people like my Discord mod Bex, who's also my friend, started to try it out.
The dumb way that I explain it to people is it is the one drug that we've ever had ever in history where opiate addicts, for once, can get through the addiction without tapering off of another opioid that'll get them high.
Yeah, it's non-recreational. If you have an opioid tolerance at all and you use this one instead, you just feel like you're like sober. Like, not necessarily sober as in withdrawal, as in you're in withdrawals, but just like sober as in like you feel like completely clear-headed and fine. There's like no recreational effects of it. It's basically just a free lunch. Like, I mean, I know people really shouldn't treat it like that, obviously, but like opioid withdrawal is such a crazy, like, difficult barrier to like overcome anyways. Like, I feel like it's okay to have a free lunch for that one if it means you're going to stop.
Much needed clarification. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out if SR17 is psychoactive, meaning does it give you any type of like euphoria or making you feel different in any type of way, like a high? And most people say no, especially people who are opioid addicts. They will agree with Beck saying like it's completely non-psychoactive. You just use it as a tool to get off and then you're out, right? But one of my good friends who's a drug nerd who does not do a lot of opioids, he just tried it and he was like, no, it does feel a little bit psychoactive. Like there is a bit of a feeling of good. I just want to clarify that so I'm not just spreading, propaganda for SR17, Anyways, back to free lunch. Now, like a lot of you, I have the belief that there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. If you do the crime, you got to do the time. If you get addicted to opioids, you got to go through withdrawal. That's the way I have always went through it in my brain. And I have actually went through withdrawal before of some opioids. And yeah, I just kind of thug it out. But somehow these early guinea pigs, like Bex, who is just a drug nerd like myself, discovered that this stuff can really provide another option for people who just don't have the strength or for whatever reason to go through that terrible withdrawal. And withdrawal is fucking terrible.
Sleeping is impossible. It's the worst. It's the worst. You're up until like 4 a.m. just like writhing in pain, and you're just like, oh God, please go to sleep, and you just can't.
And I really do need to focus on how insane that is. The fact that you can get through withdrawal without actually feeling the withdrawal and then return back to base level tolerance in for some people, a week or two, which is nuts. For perspective, some people use methadone clinics or Suboxone treatments for literally years, right? They taper, but they taper so slowly so they don't cause any discomfort in their body. But you have this other option, SR, that works completely differently on our opioid receptors that's just you're out. Now, this is where I'm going to start some drum. I've said guinea pigs, like Bex, with air quotes, and that's because some old fogey from the New York Times decided to contact Bex, because Bex was a very prominent early figure in the SR-17, helping people understand how to use it, and she documented very rigorously how she used it to get off of her opioid addiction. I think this was a year or two ago. I wasn't part of this, but from my understanding, talking to other people, it was very helpful. It was a very influential help that she did, and it helped a lot of people understand how to build their programs to get off of their addiction. But fucking Matt Richtel, old fogey Matt Richtel, contacts her, says, I'm doing a story on SR-17. Man, a year passes. He posted the story a few weeks or months ago. It was not about SR-17. The dude was just calling her a junkie, calling her a guinea pig, saying there's these dweebs on the internet who just experiment with drugs on themselves. And he doesn't even talk about why it's so cool. He kind of talks about SR-17, but he really is just spinning some story about poor Bex, this just fucking junkie addict who just lives with their parents. It's just he just spun such a shitty thing that when I read it, I was like, ew. And even Bex was like, yeah, it really kind of hurt my feelings. I trusted the guy, gave him my fucking journal entries and all that, and he just spun this crazy thing. And it just really showed bro, fuck journalists. You are an old fogey. Matt Richtel, I'm talking to you. Old. Stop it. Fucking weirdo. To be extra shady, I actually sent him an email and be like, hey, I'd love to interview you about SR-17. I was gonna fully throw some shade and just be a shady bitch, but he didn't respond. Pussy. Now, why am I throwing shade? I think honestly, you fucked with one of my friends. I don't like that. Don't fuck with my people. That's part of what I'm bringing it up. But the more important thing to bring up is that he just doesn't understand what he's talking about at all, and the important aspect of what people like Bex are doing. This idea that, oh my God, these fucking internet dweebs are doing drugs and all that. That's how we understand how this stuff works in the real world. It's also how actual scientists did very important work. Alexander Shulgin, potentially one of the greatest drug chemists in human history, developing well over 200 compounds. He tested all of those on himself, lived a very long life, and it was very important work. And he actually wrote about how the fact of it's weird how chemists will make a drug and then never try it. They'll give it to mice, but they never understand the nuance of how it affects your own body, the human body. And the work that Dr. Bond did with her mice is fantastic work, but it also is just working with mice. People like Bex, this Reddit community that try it, all the people that have tried it, thank you for your service. You risked it, obviously, because you were in a terrible place and you had no other option, you felt like. But your risk helped the world understand this compound, and I thank you. Old fuck. Sorry, being a little hateful. He might be a very sweet man. I don't even know why I'm focusing on the fact that he's old. I think just that generation of journalists just piss me off because their integrity is just in weird places. It just... whatever. Actually, it's not whatever. I'm being playful with the whole old fogey bit, but just do better. Like, you not only hurt someone's feelings that actually trusted you, but you actually did more harm to the world because of just a bullshit story that could have been really good, but it's just not because you decided to take the easy route. Shame on you, you know? Can we make old fogey like an actual slur? Because I want it to hit, but it just doesn't hit. I want it to fucking like smack. How the government plays into this is that potentially because of his article or other reasons, it's getting scheduled, SR, as a Schedule 1, and it's emergency schedule. So within the next 2 weeks, it will be a Schedule 1, meaning not only that it'll no longer be available for people to help them get off of their hard opioid addictions, but it'll be harder to do research with it because it is a brand new compound and potentially could be an absolute world changer. But we might never know because the government just emergency scheduled it. And what the emergency scheduling means is that they basically are saying it's like a public situation, and so to protect the public, they're going to emergency schedule it, meaning they're not going through the traditional ways of scheduling, the long process, and that they're not allowing people's comments on it, which is just bullshit. Listen, I don't know much about SR-17 because no one really knows too much about it. It's new, and the number one thing that you have to remember about new shit is that it takes a while for us to figure out how to use it. What are the benefits? What are the downsides? Who knows? It could be the next best thing that is life-changing, like Narcan and naloxone, right? Or it could give you super AIDS. You know, it could just skip over HIV and just give you straight AIDS or just the worst type of cancer known. You know, you don't know. But I think we can all agree it's fucking bullshit to just skip all of the discussion, all of the you're just going to go right to Schedule 1? That literally, by definition, is the schedule for something that is certain to have no medical value. Which this is definitely not that, right? That's insane. And it's an uphill battle to fight them and to tell them what we feel, but it's not an impossible battle. This has been done before where an emergency schedule is done and the people fight and it's taken down. Kratom is an example of that. But even if we don't win, I think the big thing that we have to remember is that we just have to show that you can't keep fucking doing this. They do this all the time where they'll just emergency schedule something, which just bypasses the laws and what is important about our country, about the right way to do it. And they just make a decision because why? Because they're used to no one saying anything. They're used to going, okay, whatever, you know, what are we going to do? And then they can just schedule whatever they want, make whatever illegal or legal. It's bullshit. No, you don't get to keep doing that. But if this is important to you, if you agree what I'm trying to say, if you want to just show them that they can't just keep doing this, here's some clear actions that you can do to stop this. Stop-SR17-ban.com has tons of tools to help you get in contact with your congressperson by sending a letter, calling them, sharing your story. You can make a donation to rightsandreasonproject.com. And those funds will be used to take legal action against the DEA. And this will be led by Robert Rush, a lawyer who has done this before with the DEA, who is currently trying to delay the scheduling and give SR17 a chance. And if you or someone you know has been helped by SR17, Johns Hopkins Medicine has a way for you to share your experience and show the government that this stuff can really save lives. Alongside just sharing this video, liking, commenting. And finally, I actually do have to say this, and this is important to say, I'm actually getting paid for this video by Big SR, literally. The companies that sell SR, which I'm not even going to get to the moral stuff behind that. But basically, a lot of them are pooling money together and they're sending out for, to fight this cause. And I took some of that money. It doesn't change any of my statements. I stand by everything 100%. Honestly, I should have done this video without taking money because it's just a seriously good cause. But, they offered money and I do like money. But yeah, I'm not standing by any company being yeah, what they're doing is really important work. I think that they're selling to make money. That's a different conversation and I'm not... Just give me the money. I'm just going to do what I think is important. So anyways, do what you need to do, internet. Yeah.